Hello everyone, Nev here, and today we're going to do a bit of a pick a card, and this is also a bit of a VR. And the VR is to Tangy Tarot, I believe. Yeah, and it's been a little bit since I've seen that video, so I can't completely remember what I was going to do. I just pulled everything out just now because I just remembered, all right, I was going to do that pick a card. All right, so she had mentioned in her video about the Spreadcrafters Oracle, and that's what I have here. And this is specifically the Change deck. Let me see the lid. Yeah, and I feel like this deck doesn't quite get enough love in the tarot community or in the card reading community. And I feel like this is kind of the lost sibling of the Spreadcrafters decks, or they used to be called the Spread Machines. But yeah, so and this deck is all about like shadow work or basically the tougher stuff. So and I think maybe that's why this deck might be a little bit intimidating for some. But Tangy Tarot had mentioned about how it might be kind of neat to do a pick a card with the this Change deck. So, and I thought that was really fun. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to do that for my next pick a card. And so here we are. I've separated the deck into the three parts. The three parts are, let me see if this will focus. I'm sorry if the light is a bit odd. It's a rainy day, so of course. So the three cards are separated into shadow work, or the three sections are separated into shadow work. So this category, I'm trying to focus on this. Here we go. This category contains cards that capture our common ego triggers. The full heart symbol poses a question to prompt you to own your personal triggers and shadows, while the open heart, the clear heart symbol, asks a question to help you heal and clear your heart space of the shadows you have experienced from others. It's very interesting, and I think this one is the shadow work section here. So here's kind of a an idea of what we might see here. All right, and then the next section is flux cards. They're overarching concepts that govern our worldview and can shift depending on the context of the relationship. I'm trying to read this through my camera, so the focus kind of shifts a little bit, and that's why I'm reading so slowly, because it's like, wait, what is this? And I am wearing my glasses, so so the flux cards are basically like worldview type cards, and we'll get an idea of it here. So like privilege, power, justice, norm, stereotype, consciousness. So yeah, so that's something that could be playing into whatever the shadow work card is. And finally, the last section is a call to action, and these are cards that contain powerful action words to help you create forward momentum and channel your intention. So yeah, I figured this would be a good last card. So I kind of want to do the shadow card first, then the flux card, and then the call to action. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull one of each of these for the pick a cards. I'm going to have three pick a card piles, or pick a pile, and each pile will have three cards here. It will also have three cards from the, let me pull it out so I can show. This is, of course, a bag that I made for it. Yeah. And this is the This Might Hurt Tarot. So one card will be pulled for each of the sections here. And then finally, to close it off, I'm going to pull one card from the, you can see that this bag matches. So it is, if that's the This Might Hurt, then this is the This Might Help Oracle. So this will be the last card to be pulled. And it kind of just wraps up the reading and brings together this is what might help in this situation. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shuffle, and I'm going to pull one card from each of these piles for the three piles for the pick a cards. All right, let's get this started. Okay, so I have the 3 piles here of just the core meanings. I'm going to pull from the This Might Hurt tarot as I do the readings, each individual reading. So we're just going to be picking these piles. So I'm going to do this in 2 different ways. So if you would like to be completely surprised as to which pile you picked, then I would say take a few deep breaths right now. And then go to pick the pile that is drawing to you the most, that you're feeling the most drawn to. And just take a few deep breaths and go ahead and do that. And at this point, there will be some timestamps down below. Go to your timestamped reading. If you would like to have a sneak preview, like basically I'm just going to pull the shadow work card from each of these piles. So if you kind of want to have a specific, to have this be a bit more specific to you, then at this point, I'm going to pull just the shadow work card, and that will be the sneak peek. And same deal, take a few deep breaths, and then pick the shadow work card that you feel is most relevant to you, and then jump to your reading. All right. So if you don't want to be spoiled, stop now and go ahead and jump to your reading. All right. Okay. So the first pile is all about rage. And it has the colored in heart. So it poses a question that asks you to basically confront your personal triggers and shadows. Yeah, so rage, here we go. And you can pause and read that real quick. The second pile, we have bypassing, again with a full heart. So pause and read. And finally, the theme for the last one, alienation, again with the full heart. So all 3 of these have the full hearts. All right, so take a few moments before you decide and figure out which of these best is related to your situation and what you're going through and what you're ready to deal with. So there we go. All right, so go ahead and jump to your reading. Well, hello, pile number 1. All right, so let's see what the theme of your reading is, and it is rage. How have your rage, anger, and bitterness played a part in your worldview, your expression, and your interaction with others? How have you lost control? And I see. Each card has a full heart and a clear heart. When I was initially pulling these, I didn't realize that. All right, so that's the question that we need to address. Is how have you lost control? And how has your rage, anger, and bitterness played a part in your worldview, your expressions, and your interaction with others? And then in the how to help heal, how can you diffuse and navigate a difficult or aggressive situation? How can you de-escalate? All right. And then what worldview is sort of affecting this rage for you right now? And we have consciousness, archetypes, collective, reality, individuality, narratives, awakening mind, and attitudes. So a certain sense of attitudes and a sort of a self-awareness sort of situation, or an awareness of the community around, a consciousness of that. So, and finally, the call to action will be dismantle. What a good one for this. To deconstruct, to tear down, to fragment, to overthrow. All right, so those are our positions. I'm going to shuffle the This Might Hurt tarot here. All right, so how has your anger and bitterness played a part in your worldview, your expression, and how you interact with others? We have the Four of Pentacles, being closed up. I feel like, oh yeah, I mean, that's pretty clear to me. Yeah, so I feel like the way you've been dealing with anger lately is to really bottle it up. And what happens when we bottle things up is eventually it explodes. And I think maybe that might be what you're experiencing right now. You have this issue where you just, you try to be quiet, you try to be conscious. That consciousness here, conscious of everyone's feelings and, the bigger worldview, the bigger picture. So you tend to bottle those things up, and it gets to the point where it just eventually explodes. And that's what we're seeing here with the Four of Pentacles. All right, so consciousness. So that worldview that's in flux all the time. Five of Swords. Conflict. And the Five of Swords, it really is a tough card. Like, a lot of people think like Death or Ten of Swords or the Tower, things like that are kind of like the worst cards. But in my opinion, like one of the toughest cards to me is that Five of Swords. And it's almost like that backstabby sort of feeling. Like it's cutthroat, and I'm using these knife sort of idioms here, but yeah, and it really is. And so it's like, it's almost like you're afraid to open up because of that fear of being backstabbed. And, backstabbing is also what we might see of the Seven of Swords, but I have a different sort of feeling with the Seven of Swords. The Five of Swords to me is kind of that doing whatever you can to be on top. And it's like, you won, but at what cost? You won, but at the expense of other people. And that's what the Five of Swords makes me feel. So it's this sense of this boiling frustration for you of not being able to really open up and to express yourself for fear of that being turned against you, for fear of, causing more waves or people using what you do open up with against you. So that's what's sort of happening here. So the call to action, dismantle. How do we dismantle this? All right, we have the Six of Cups. Oh my gosh, what a good card to end with this. Yeah, I mean, it's really talking about going back to our childhoods and that sense of, and not necessarily, like, you may have had a bad childhood, I don't know, but someone in our past that understands us, someone or a safe place that we can go to really open up. It could be a therapy situation. It could be just having that person to talk to and to open up with, who's not going to judge us and backstab us. And so there's this sense of rage having to do with like, it's almost an uncontrollable rage. And it has to do with bottling things up because we're afraid to open up. Because if we do open up, we're afraid that those things will be used against us. And finally, how to dismantle this. We need to go back. We need to go back to what it is that we feel the most comfortable with. What's sometimes we just need to step away from the from what is really not serving us, and maybe stepping away from people that are making us feel like this, and to find that safer place to go to. That could be an old friend, it could be a family member, or even something as simple as watching our comfort show. Like the Six of Cups is really, for me, that sense of just peace and comfort and going back to our roots, watching a show you've seen a gajillion times, but it's that comfort show, or having that, sometimes we just need to escalate when we feel that bubbling rage. Needing to be able to just open up in a safe place, get that comfort zone, that sense of nostalgia, of a happier time, happier place. And so that's what we're seeing here. Finally, I am going to pull a card from the This Might Help, and hopefully this is something that might help. Something to bring it all together here, close off this reading. Help you deal with this sense of frustration and rage and anger, and something that might help us de-escalate that times when we've bottled up so much because we're afraid to open up, and when we do open up, we find that we hurt others. So needing to find that safe place, that safe way of de-escalating, so we don't turn into this. So how might this help? We have the battered sword. Oh wow! And because this is an oracle, I am going to pull out I'm going to pull out the book for this. So the battled sword is actually from the Justice card. Wow. And man, so how might this help? All right, so the Sword of Justice represents cutting to the truth of things. There are brutal truths in this world and no shortage of forces that don't want you to see them. Current societal institutions of justice, such as courts of law and prison systems, have been built on centuries of oppression. How can we trust institutions that grew from these roots? How can we imagine better ones? The battered sword urges you to act in alignment with your personal ideals of justice. So that means that we might end up hurting someone in the process, but sometimes that's what just needs to happen. Sometimes, we won, but at what cost? Sometimes those costs are worth it, depending on what it is, of course. The fight for justice has been a long one, and it will be longer still. Your part is just one step in a long, nonlinear march toward progress. So basically, that's kind of like how this might help is that this frustration and this anger and this wanting to lash out is sometimes worth it, and sometimes we need to just let it out. We need to let out this rage, but find ways to soften it, gentle. Make sure it comes out not so aggressively that we end up hurting others. But at the same time, this is truth that needs to be revealed. So sometimes that's what needs to happen. And that's what we're getting at finally at the end of this. This rage is from, this anger is from bottling things up. And we're afraid to let those things out because others might be hurt. And what the sword of truth is really, the battered sword here is really saying is that these things need to come out. But we can find gentle ways to do that. And we can find moments to de-escalate and to de-escalate ourselves, whether that be talking to someone from our past, talking to someone we know and trust, or even just putting on an old show to just help comfort, so that is what I've got here for this for pile number 1. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, pile number 2. All right, so let's see what your reading is going to be about. So we have bypassing. What necessary perspectives or information are you refusing to acknowledge right now? What are you resisting? So, what are you actively going against here? How have you been dismissed? In what ways have you or your ideas been deemed unworthy of consideration? So, in one of these ways, one of these perspectives, it's you who's doing the bypassing or the deflecting, I guess. Or like, yeah, bypassing. Oh, and the other way of reading this is how have you been dismissed and how have you been bypassed? All right. And so the worldview that's sort of in flux right now that's affecting this situation, we have diversity. So multicultural celebration, mosaic, variety, fragmentation, separation, appropriation, distortion, unity. And finally, the call to action. We have impact, to influence, which I can see really connecting here, influence. To start a chain reaction or movement, to manifest change. All right. So some of these are really like big world type things, but again, your reading could be a big world sort of situation, or it could be something much smaller and not so large of a situation here. So I'm going to pull a card for each of these positions from the This Might Hurt Tarot. All right, so we have, for bypassing, the Seven of Cups. Yeah, basically there's just too much going on. There's too many options, and that's why things are being bypassed. There's just a lot of different avenues to go toward. There's a lot of different wants, or a lot of different situations that need your attention, or that you think need your attention. So there's a lot of things that you're missing here. There's a lot of things you're overlooking. And because there's quite frankly too much going on. So actually, I'm going to put it like this. I think the previous one I did it underneath, but we're going to put it like that. Bypassing. All right. So diversity. And which really connects with the Seven of Cups too. Because diversity, there's a lot of different things. There's a mosaic, there's a variety. And maybe in this situation, maybe there's too much variety. It depends on what it is, depending on the situation, of course. So diversity, this is what's in flux, the worldview, the situation that is in flux. Four of Swords. Yeah, just wanting to take a rest of all the different aspects, and these are really connecting. I mean, we think of diversity in general, a very good thing, of course, but we're talking about big worldview things there, like diversity in people, etc., which is excellent and, of course, a wonderful part of life. But when we're talking about small scale stuff, sometimes we need to specify instead of diversity, diversify. Yeah, so the Four of Swords is a card of rest, and I think you're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling overwhelmed by what's going on right now. There's just too much going on, and sometimes we just need to take a rest from that, or there's a lot of inaction happening because there's an overstimulation of what's going on. So finally, the call to action, impact, how we can influence or start a chain of movement to manifest change. How can we start a chain of movement? Knight of Cups. Wow, that's a good one for this. Because that is, all the knights are cards of movement. The Knight of Pentacles would be a bit more slow moving, whereas the Knight of Cups is really talking about finding your passion here. I mean, there is so much going on that it's just a bit too much for you right now, so you're kind of like you're bypassing by just shutting it out and taking that rest and forgetting everything that's going on. And the call to action to impact, to get things going, being the Knight of Cups, is really that card of passion. Like, figure out which one of these things you're actually passionate about. So finally, we are going to pull out the This Might Help oracle here. And I will be reading from the book because it's an oracle. So what might help in this situation? You're feeling overstimulated, possibly out of control because there's just too much going on for you to focus on. There's a little too much diversity. And because of that, you're kind of closing yourself off from this and getting nothing done. So we need to find something you're passionate about. So how might this help? This one. All right. Ibises. So this is from the Star card, which makes sense. And I'm going to kind of read this before I grab the book here. But 17 is the Star card, I believe. And which really has to do with, following that guiding light of hope and inspiration. Inspiration is a big one. So it's this, to me, before I grab the book and see what it says, has a lot to do with inspiration. Like, you're really needing to feel inspired. And yeah, so let's grab, oh, here, I opened right to it. Ibises. So make art about it. Ibises stand in the stars pool, a spring of inspiration, there we go, like I said, and deep understanding. These birds are symbols of the Egyptian god Thoth, considered the inventor of all arts. Creativity is the human way of relating to the collective unconscious. Human beings have a deep desire to communicate what we know on a deeper level, but such things defy description. So what do? We make art. We write poetry, we create music, we strum our guitars, we paint, we draw, and we weave tapestries. And we ask over and over again, do you see? Do you see it? Do you see me? The Ibises urge you to create. It is a time to access that deep pool of understanding and see how it is translated by your own creativity. So how might you get out of this slump? How might this help? Really, we need to get creative with this. Maybe the overstimulation and overwhelming feeling is because you're kind of uninspired by what's being presented to you here. And because of that, you kind of want to close off. So the Knight of Cups and the Ibises here are really talking about figuring out what it is that you are passionate about. And that's going to help you get out of this slump for sure. All right, so that, I think, is your reading. So you're bypassing because you're overstimulated. There's a bit too much diversity going on, and it's you need to specify instead of diversify, and figure out what you're passionate about and what's going to drive those creative juices for you. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye! Hello, pile number 3. All right, so let's see what your reading is about. What is that shadow work element that you're needing to work on right now? Alienation. So, how have you contributed to your own or somebody's separation and alienation? How have you been alienated by the words or actions of others? And what can you do to move forward in an empowered and positive way? All right, so that's pretty deep. So one aspect, the full heart aspect of this is your actions and how they might be making other people feel alienated or separated. And then the other part, the clear heart part, is how you might be feeling alienated by words or actions of others. So yeah, and we will figure out which one is most relevant to your situation as we read this. So progress, this is what's in flux. This is kind of the overarching what's going on in the background sort of thing that's affecting this situation. So progress, movement, growth, evolution, improvement, perfectionism, stagnation, which I feel like is a lack of progress or breakthrough. So depending on what card we pull for that, that could indicate that maybe things are going a little too fast, and that's contributing to the sense of alienation. And finally, the call to action is listen. To receive new information with intention, to seek understanding, to give attention to someone. All right. So I'm going to pull a card from the This Might Hurt Tarot for each of these positions. So this sense of alienation, what is contributing to this sense of alienation? We have Justice. Okay, wow, what a card for this. So the right thing. Yeah. So if you're the one who is doing the alienation, you may feel that you're doing so out of a justified cause. Like, you may be feeling that what you're doing may be hurting someone's feelings, but it's the right thing in your mind. Now, if you're the one feeling alienated, then I feel like maybe there's a little bit of that self-loathing going on. Maybe you feel like that there's some sort of justification for you feeling that way. So that's a pretty heavy card. We'll see what sorts of movement and growth or what's happening that's contributing to this. All right, the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, it's kind of that, almost a sense of tradition or a sense of it's happening because it's happening, and because it's always happened, and this is maybe a repeated cycle. This is something that's happened a lot for you. So this may be a sense of you feeling alienated or separated from others, and you feel like this is just how it's always been. So that's the justice of it. It almost feels like. I mean, we have that battered sword here, which in the first pile, we actually got the battered sword for the final card that was connected to the justice card here. So this, it's like it's become so second nature for you, and it's become so ingrained because it's just how it's always been. And maybe this is what's tapping into that stagnation. Things are moving and going forward, but at the same time, it feels like it's like how it's always been, because the wheel is something that moves, but it moves over and over in the same ways, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what's affecting you right now. This sense of, yeah, things are moving, but they're kind of staying the same. And because it's how it's always been, it's kind of got that sense of tradition for you. So you feel like even though you're feeling separated from this, you're feeling alienated, this is something that's, it almost feels for you like it's supposed to be this way. Which, of course, it's not, but sometimes we can get used to our own abuses. That's a strong word, but we can get used to injustices, and sometimes it can feel like a justice. Does that make sense? Because it's making sense in my head, but I'm not sure that I'm relaying it how it's making sense in my head. So the call to action is to listen. What do we need to listen to? All right, we have the 10 of Wands. Okay. You may feel like, like I feel like everyone's putting things on your shoulders. And you feel like that's how it has to be. So you know what this makes me think of? It makes me think of what moms go through, and I say this as a mom, sometimes we can feel that sense of alienation, like we are separated from society because we're so focused on our mom duties. And of course, this is very specific, but if this resonates with you, then I'm glad. And you may not be a mom or a parent, but it's the same sort of idea. But this is the analogy that I'm sort of thinking of here. Sometimes us moms can get that sense of feeling separated from the world, but we're doing the right thing. We're doing something that we need to do, and it's, things are moving forward, but it's the same thing. And I am really pointing to seeing the fact that both of these people here are holding swords, and the justice sword is all battered and bruised, whereas this Wheel of Fortune sword is pristine. So it's almost like when this wheel starts, it's pristine, the power's there, but that power just keeps getting beaten down. And really, someone needs to listen to you and understand that you've got too much on your shoulders right now. And what you're experiencing isn't necessarily the right thing. You got to do what you got to do, of course, but people need to listen to you. People need to take a load off. So that's what we're seeing here. So how might this help? I'm pulling one of the This Might Help oracle cards here, which I will be reading from the book since it's an oracle card. So let's bring this to a close here. And how might this help? The blindfold. All right. Fascinating. If I remember correctly, because I have pulled this card a few times before, this blindfold has a lot to do with instinct and going off of instinct. And I feel like if I'm just reading into this before I grab the book here, I feel like you're not being seen right now. And I feel like other people need to take their blindfold off and see you, and to help alleviate some of what's bogging you down. So I am going to find the oh, it was right here, the blindfold. I just saw it. All right, so avoiding awareness. A blindfold appears twice in the Suit of Swords. In the Eight of Swords, a woman has been blindfolded and bound to prevent her escape. In the Two of Swords, the subject has blindfolded herself to avoid making a decision. The blindfold serves as a metaphor for accepting, sometimes even welcoming, a lack of awareness about your environment and position within it. Both subjects in these cards have the option of regaining their vision, but they choose not to. Yeah, and maybe you're choosing not to see how much this is affecting you. That's definitely something I'm feeling here. Taking action to change their situation would be the best thing for them, but it would also be challenging and likely painful. So they use a temporary lack of vision as an excuse not to. So this sense of alienation is coming from this potentially you are in a situation that you're trudging along with this, but it's the same thing, and because of it, you're feeling very bogged down and separated from society, and it's not something that you're willing to initially change because you feel like you're doing the right thing. So you're kind of holding on to this blindfold of like, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep doing this, even though it's making me miserable, but you have this sense of thinking it's the right thing to do. And maybe it is, but maybe we need to take a peek out from that blindfold a little bit and have other people listen to us and take some of that load off of our shoulders. And when we do that, maybe we can start moving forward on this wheel a little bit easier. We don't have to necessarily stop doing this thing that we feel like is needed and is important and the right thing to do, but maybe taking some steps to make this wheel a little more bearable. Does that make sense? So it's not like this perfect happy ending here, but it's like making small progress. And I think right now you might be feeling a little afraid to take that blindfold off and to move forward with asking for help or having someone listen to what you need right now, because you feel like you're doing something that you need to do. And of course you need to keep doing it, but you also need to take care of yourself. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. So all right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!